You are watching the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament brought to you by iFixit. SCVs for the real world. The Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And Esports United, sponsored by Intel. This broadcast is also made possible by IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment. Hello everybody and welcome back to another game from the Global Gamers Invitational round of 32. This game between Stalife and his opponent Looky. This is game 2. Looky facing elimination. Stalife taking game 1 on Metalopolis. Once again, this tournament is sponsored by iFixit, SCVs for the real world, but also Esports United and the Handsome Nerd. So far we've had a very interesting tournament to date. We're really starting to lose off all the weaker players and mostly pros left over. It's starting to look more and more like an invitational as things go on. Stalife definitely the favorite here. His opponent relatively unheard of, but winning this series will definitely make a name for himself. Stalife looks like he is preparing for a wall-off just like last time, opting for the supply depot wall-offs, which you really do not see very often from Terran players anymore, but I figure on big maps like this, Baneling's a little bit less popular. Still, you can run those speedlings forward, morph them in, and you have a hole in the base pretty quickly. I'm actually a little bit surprised that we're playing on this map, given that players can choose their own maps. This is a very unpopular map for Zerg players, similar to Lost Temple. Very easy for Terran players to abuse these high grounds with Vikings or Thor drops or tank drops. Very hard for Zerg players to fast expand. So I am a bit surprised by this decision from Looky. Build-wise, it looks like we are going to be getting a 14 or 15 spawning pool, but an early extractor, which suggests to me either a fast lair tech or speedlings or banelings. This is consistent with a baneling bust build. Stalife meanwhile playing very standard, it appears. Probably going to see an orbital command as soon as that barracks finishes, and a refinery at a very standard time. So Stalife able to transition into pretty much any build order from here. He's sending out that scouting SCV. Neither Overlord heading in the right direction, so unfortunately for Looky, he is not going to get a look at his opponent's base. He will not be able to get a drone in either because of that wall off, so once again we'll be playing in the dark. That's probably why he is opting for not fast expanding, just because this is a difficult map for a Zerg player to fast expand and defend that expansion, and probably a little bit frazzled from that early timing push from his opponent, so instead going to be building a tier 1 army, put himself on the offensive, I guess. There's that Roach Warren being hidden in the back, so going for early Roaches, not Ling Baneling. Roaches, of course, very strong against Marines. Great for knocking down walls if there aren't any tanks or too many Marauders. And it looks like Stalife going to get a good scout around. There are unfortunately just not any Zerglings out quite yet. The timing of the scout is perfect. He is going to spot that Roach Warren and that gas, knows exactly what he's up against. He actually has a double take there. Probably saw it and then didn't click on it in time to see what it was. So he's going to lose this SCV almost for certain. But he saw what he needed to see. Throwing down a reactor and a factory, so it looks like we're going to get the exact same build. Marine, siege tank, timing push. His opponent, however, is not fast expanding, so that'll be a little bit less effective. But it's still a very good composition. Enough Roaches, however, there's that Roach Warren. Enough Roaches and siege tanks and Marines are not that effective. Roaches can get in the face of the Marines, cause splash damage against the Marines, and are very durable to siege tank fire. And I take it back, this SCV, lucky little blighter, is alive with 5 hit points and will be able to, mine minerals on. Really, he should be on disability right now, but instead he will be mining minerals with 5 health, probably for the rest of the game. Good for him. What a hero. He saw that Roach Warren, even had to do a double take to see it a second time, and he lives. So I'm really happy for him. And those Zerglings are pressing back. One Zergling hanging out this tower. Probably should control a second tower just to know. And another scouting SCV on the way here for Stalife. This one probably not going to have as much luck as his predecessor. And Zergling speed finally being researched by Looky. No lair tech. He is definitely focusing on producing Roaches and Lings. Army-wise, he has a pretty substantial force now, picking up that slow fast expansion, and he is being aggressive. However, unfortunately for Looky, his opponent does spot this because of his scouting SCV. Is able to retreat behind the safety of his supply depot, And Siege Tech is not quite done. He's keeping this supply depot up, probably taunting his opponent. I'm not sure why. He's got to be taunting his opponent. He knows he's right there. He sees him clear as can be. But, okay, he's going to leave it down. We're going to go look somewhere else. Hopefully not going to let his opponent rush right in here. Siege Tech is almost complete. Looky is taking a little bit too long to press in. Instead, falling back, probably waiting for reinforcements and circling speed. A couple drones moving forward, probably for extractors. I'm not really sure. And Looky is in open retreat. 2 siege tanks and a marine force moving out. They're sieging up early. No, I guess he's expecting there to be a force right here, but there is not. So probably going to unsiege those tanks. Income-wise, both players completely tied, which is what we'd expect to see. These Marines going to take control of that tower. And Looky now knows that his opponent is moving out. This expansion relatively undefended, but it does have a queen and some zerglings and roaches ready to defend if need be. Some drones can throw in some quick spine crawlers, which will help with the Marines, but the siege tanks are the real problem. Able to pelt from range. He really needs a lot of zerglings and roaches to deal with those siege tanks. Army-wise, he does have a smaller force. He is producing more lings. They are speedlings. Siege tanks building far behind, trying to taunt units to get into this firing line. The Marines fall back, but being hit by their own siege tanks. The lings do close on that first siege tank. They're getting slaughtered by the tanks, but the roaches do survive, and Stalife's force is completely eliminated. Excellent play there by Looky. Textbook style there, getting those zerglings straight on the first tank, using the splash damage to kill Marines and tanks, and he's now pressing forward, going to run into these Marines and siege tank, and he's going to need a few more forces to press in any further. A bunker being set up, which to me suggests an expansion coming down for Stalife. There is the command center going to be landed. Didn't make it an orbital command first, which is a little bit of a waste. You may as well make an orbital command and save up some energy while it flies. But both players able to secure their expansion. We are getting an infernal pre-igniter down for Stalife, but no Hellions, just the pre-igniter, which I find interesting. I guess he is building a second factory, so he is going to be transitioning into mech, it seems, and clearly intending to stick with Hellions in the early game. Hellions and siege tanks, just phenomenal against early game Zerg, and his opponent getting that lair tech might be going for Mutalisks. Has only 1 gas, however, so Mutas will be slow in coming. Income tab, both players in a dead tie, and we are crashing, it appears. There it goes, a little bit of lag, still moving on though. So yes, Looky a little bit gas starved, won't be able to transition into a strong Muta play, not for a while. But he does have a fairly strong force moving in. Maybe he'll catch these Marines off their guard. He does catch those Marines. Stalife going to lose several Marines. Unfortunately, the Zerglings get a little bit too close to those siege tanks. They're quickly evaporated. Units lost, however, Stalife still feeling the hurt from that failed timing push. His opponent reacted beautifully, so Looky did a very, very nice job. However, Stalife is proceeding nicely. He clearly has a plan, and it looks like Looky also has a plan. Finally, I was just going to comment and say he needs a plan. He's building a Baneling's Nest. He's getting a Ventral Sax upgrade. I doubt that's a misclick. He is probably planning to drop Banelings into his opponent's base, get those SCVs. That would be pretty nice. 4 factories now down for Stalife. We're getting 1 with the tech lab, 2 with the tech lab, and 1 can't build any labs at all. And starting to mass those Hellions and siege tanks. So this is the problem with Zerg versus Terran, in my opinion, is that the only thing the Terran player needs to do is get that 2 base, get the 4 gas, then he's able to support a very robust mech army. Very hard for Zerg players to counter. Thor's just too strong for Mutalisks. Hellions too strong for Zerglings. Siege tanks too strong for everything on the ground. Looky now expanding to that gold, and it looks like those Hellions not going to go scout it, so a temporary advantage there for Looky. He has cleared this back door, and the Ventral Sack's almost completed, so we might see some aggression very soon here from Looky, and the Hellions now going to spot that expansion. Sometimes near clairvoyance from these good players. They just seem to know when players will go for things. Hellions, of course, will take forever to kill that hatchery. Probably should have just left that there to delay those Hellions, but here they come with Igniter. There are several roaches, but there are a lot of Hellions. They run right past the roaches. They're getting inside. Meanwhile, this rock is going down. I'll have to jump back to that when I can. Hellions are engaging. They're going to get in on this drone line with those pre-igniters. Several drones going down in mere instants. So many drones dying, but this is a very expensive investment. So many Hellions moving in to make these drones go down, but the damage is just extreme. However, we are inside. Terran drone SCVs now going down. The Roaches are also inside. The forces of Stalife are all deployed. The SCV is going to run to the expansion. Command center are probably going to go down, and only one Hellion left alive here for Looky, but it's going to get in on these drones as well. So both players having their economies absolutely ravaged, and it's going to be hard to tell who has the advantage here. The command center is indeed dead. Really should be targeting some of these buildings, but he's going to pull out instead, get those Roaches and Lings alive. Siege tanks are deployed, but really the damage has been done. Excellent play there by Looky and by Stalife. We'll see the balance in the end is that Stalife does have the larger SCV count on that one base. However, he did lose a base, which I think is a very expensive loss. But, oh, Looky does try for another engagement, throwing away these forces to that massive siege tanks. Only gets a tech lab. That was very foolish. But he is ahead in the units lost, doing a very, very nice job, massing Roaches brilliantly here in the center of the map. And this expansion is completely undefended. Looks like Stalife is chasing those fleeing units. He is not reinforcing the main. And he can now perform Overlord drops if you want, but Looky, his opportunity is quickly passing. He could have just sacked this expansion. He knows these tanks are there. Why isn't he moving in? He is loading up into these Overlords. I don't know why he's being overly complicated. Just walk in the front door already. Siege tanks now moving in, a lot of siege tanks. And both players recovering fairly well. The worker count growing, but here comes that drop. A little bit redundant. Gave his opponent a little bit too much time, so his tanks are going to be able to fall back and catch the Roaches, but so many drones or SCVs being slaughtered by these Roaches being dropped, and another expansion probably going to go down. These siege tanks do catch some Roaches that weren't loaded up, and they are going to try and make a counter push. Are we getting some Zerglings and Roaches deployed here for Looky? It looks like he does not have enough. He does have these coming in from a flank. He can drop these right on top of the siege tank. Looky is engaged.